Hello and welcome to the live stream live. I am your host, Joshua Schubart, and I hope you're having a wonderful, beautiful Tuesday evening or afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in the country or even the world. If you are watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. If you are hearing this on the podcast audio only, thank you for listening. As usual, we are live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. If you have any questions or comments, I will respond to them if they are appropriate and not overly horny, as per usual. Yeah, so I've got a cool person coming on today. His name is Scott Speiser. You might know him as Overkill on the Tick. If you are a fan of mine, then you are most certainly a fan of his. He's a really cool dude, and I can't wait to tell you everything that he has done since and before, and we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. But let me get right into the beginning, which is what I've been watching, what I've been reading, and how I've been feeling. So I am still watching The Last of Us. I hope that you are too. It is such an so it's one of the best games that I've ever played in my entire life, hands down, ever. It's when I played through the first game, I was like, video games need to win Oscars. This was the best movie I have ever played. So being able to see it, watch it done exceptionally well, and still be as moved as I was when I was playing through the game for the first time is truly incredible. Check out The Last of Us, please. I am also still ass deep in the WWE. Me and my wife are basically, it's our whole personality now. We're watching twice a week, Raw and SmackDown, and then any like PLEs that pop up. I'm here for John Cena being heel. I'm here for like everyone's a fucking heel now. You know, Seth Rollins is a heel, but Becky Lynch is a heel. It's just heel-tastic magic time. Paul Heyman's a heel. So if you're into the professional wrestling, please let me know in the comments. We can high five each other over the internet. I don't care that it's stupid. I think it's fucking great. And I saw Thunderbolts this weekend, aka the new Avengers, and I have to say that it was really fucking great. The hype is real. It's not bullshit. It's just a really thoughtful comic book film, which is a thing that we have not really seen coming out of the MCU for a while. It was refreshing to see a comic booky vibe, comic booky problems, broader strokes when it comes to issues, like kind of like this one is all about mental illness and then like how that manifests, and specifically and what it means to be mentally ill and to be a hero or to be an assassin, or but like not in a like, I'm mentally ill, so I'm going to blow this person's head up and the blood is going to spray all over the screen and I'm going to wipe it all over my body, like in some instances of some things that I've seen, The Boys. But yeah, it was nice to be moved again watching something that is spectacle, right? Because we used to be able to, we used to be like, if you think about like Titanic, right? Like being moved by spectacle was a thing that it was why we went to the theater. Star Wars, being overtaken by the fantastical in such a way that you had to go. You needed to sit there and watch it on a giant screen, and there's few things that have been able to recapture that magic as of late. Maybe Dune 2 was spectacular. Certainly Sinners, which was fucking spectacular. If you haven't seen Sinners, go see it in IMAX. Ryan Coogler, which I was talking about last week, is a fucking masterpiece of a storyteller. He is certainly going to be up there with the iconic greats like Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. He's fucking great, and I hope to all that is holy in the sky that I get to work with him one day in any capacity, even if I just get my legs blown off. I don't care. I would love to work with that guy. As for what I'm reading, I am still reading my way through the Dresden Files. Right now I'm on Battlegrounds, and it's like book like 23 in the series, and it's still fun. It's still great. I still love it. I highly recommend it. It's about a crime-solving wizard, but it's so much more. I mean, if you don't know by now, I'm super nerdy, and I'm into all things that are like wizards and magic and D&D and science fiction and blah blah blah. But yeah, so check out the Dresden Files, and then as usual, I don't know, I'm feeling like a fucking like a like in particular with like what's always happening every day in our godforsaken hellscape of a country. That's not necessarily what it is, but that's how it feels sometimes. Just I mean, the random like we're gonna tariff movies from other countries thing was definitely an odd surprise. Like I know it's not like a thing that's actively happening, but the fact that we're trying to put a tariff on a thing that's kind of like not a good, like you can't buy a movie in the store, like it's not a thing that you can put in like a cargo ship and then put in a truck. So I don't know if you saw John Voight's proposals, which I guess he's been working on for the past since he became one of the ambassadors to Hollywood. Some of them are okay. I mean, I like the additional idea of federally sponsored tax credits in areas that will go on top of the ones that are already offered by the state. I'm kind of on the fence about if a movie could be made in America but is elected to be shot outside, that there will be imposed like 125% fine on the production based off of whatever the tax break was in that country. That's a little weird. I would love to see more healthy incentivizing to create more things here versus punishments. Like happiness versus pain is kind of what I feel like would be better. And then there's that whole thing that he wants to do where he wants to make sure that every project passes like an Americanized cultural test. Like it has to pass some sort of like American litmus test. Whoever the fuck makes up the litmus test, I'm sure it's like white guys, but like that's a little weird, and I'm not really into that. Like American is fucking everything. We're America. Like everyone comes from everywhere, and then we all eat each other's food, and we all talk to each other about what the fuck's going on everywhere, and we all learn and change and grow. So there's nothing more American than everyone from everywhere telling every type of story. So if that's the litmus test, then I'm fine with that. Let's see, what did you say over here? I remember seeing Jaws when it came out in the theater. My sister didn't want to go alone to watch it. I still don't like the water. I can't see through. Great film. So it was a great film, and what's cool about Jaws is that it was one of the first blockbusters to ever exist. It was like Easy Rider kind of started it off, but like Jaws was the first thing where like it was like this fucking shark spectacle, and it made people afraid of the water. And apparently, you are still afraid of the water to this day, which isn't isn't great, but also, wow, like what a crazy experience that you received from watching a film, which is nuts. I had a very similar experience the first time that I saw Chucky. Granted, I was way too young to watch Chucky, but for a long time, I believed that every doll was going to come to life and murder me and my family. So while that wasn't probably a healthy thing to watch when I was in my like early tweens, it certainly had its impact, and I couldn't watch them again until I was in college, and then I got to watch them for what they were. Not the first one, because the first Chucky was like a dead ass like horror film, but all of them after that were just these horror comedies, and it made me fall in love with that particular type of horror genre. The horror comedy is so fucked up, but it's also so much fun. Anyway, if you wanted to know that about me, a hug from Brazil to me. Thank you for watching from Brazil. I love how many of you are watching from other places. It's so cool. Thanks for giving a shit enough to watch me talk about stuff and speak to people. All right. So that was my watching, reading, and how I'm feeling. I'm gonna bring up Scott in a moment. So I first met Scott when we were working on the Tick. And one of the things that stood out about Scott is that he is a very kind person. And in our industry, full of jaded, angry folks, Scott was a kindred spirit to me in the respect that he seemed to be just generally amped to be on set every day. And it was very refreshing when you kind of walk into a place and everyone's already kind of pissed, to have someone else there that really loves it. And you've seen him on the Tick, but you've also seen him on the Orville, on Bull, on 911, Blue Bloods, Hawaii 550, and one of my favorite credits that he has is The Young and the Restless, because that's just a wonderful credit. But without further ado, let me just pull up Scott Speiser. What's up, man?
Hi.
How are
Can you
you?
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can
Great.
you hear me?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Young and the Restless. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Have
Young
you
and
ever
the
done
Restless.
soap opera?
I have not. I have not. I am not what they call a soap opera type. I am.
Well, I gotta say, it was stressful because they move so fast. Not
Yeah,
that we're
you
gonna
have to learn like
jump into soap.
90 pages in a day, right?
Well, but like you basically just get one take. They come up with like six cameras, they show up, you shoot it, we rehearse it, then you shoot it, and then they just do pickups on any lines that were flubbed or something like that, and then that's it.
That's
It was
wild.
it was stressful. I have a lot of respect for the soap opera community and the people that are doing that every day. It's impressive.
Well, because they have so many episodes to like
Oh yeah.
shoot, and they shoot them all in like 2 months or something, right? Like it's fast.
Well, I don't know. When I did it, it was basically like they're doing basically an episode a day.
Right.
So,
That's so
which is
crazy.
crazy. I mean, that's 44 minutes a day, whereas a network show, like a primetime show, is 44 minutes. They're going to spend about 8 days shooting that.
Yeah.
So they're doing it all in one day. Sometimes I think they're doing more than that, because I think when I did Young and the Restless, I think they were only working 4 days a week, but they're doing 5 episodes a week. So they're doing like one and a quarter a day, I guess.
I
Something like
can't
that.
even fucking imagine that. That is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
my head would explode.
Yeah. I was I was very nervous. And I think I'd already done NCIS. Did a guest star at NCIS, and then like some small co-stars before that. So I'd been on like bigger sets, but this one really stressed me out.
Well, like especially when you aren't like one of the main people, and like everybody is already like they know how to operate in that
Yeah.
world, and
Yeah.
then you just have to kind of like hop on the moving train, like the
Yeah.
like speeding train. So I'm
Yeah.
sure,
I
I'm
had a
sure that's
scene with
fucking
the
crazy.
guy that's been on the show. I had a scene with the guy that'd been on the show for 30 something years. Like I think I was like mid 30s when I did it, and he had been on it for about as long as I'd been alive.
You know,
More power.
when we were in school, or when we were first coming up, like I remember we used to talk so much shit about soap operas, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
the longevity of career that these people have had, like the money that they've made, and the financial security that they've made for themselves, that's what we are all trying to do. Like,
Yeah. You mentioned like, when you met me, and there's, a lot of people jaded out there. I mean, I'm definitely very jaded. I mean, especially now as the last few years, but like there there is yeah, there is I mean, basically like you said, I mean, it is so hard to make a living doing what we're doing that you get what you take what you can get, and then if you're not creatively satisfied doing that, you take that paycheck and
right?
you do something that creatively satisfies you in something else in another place
It's
that you've
true.
done on yourself that you don't have to get cast in or something. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the point is, right, like most people I don't think grow up being like, oh, I want to be on I'm an actor, I want to be on a soap opera. But it happens, and you realize that that's a good job. It's a
It is a
good
good
job.
job. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things that I really remembered from working with you was how fucking supportive you were of me. Just because like I wasn't one of the leads, but my character kept growing and growing and growing.
Mhm.
And I remember you would ask me like, so how many episodes do you have now?
Mm.
And it just kept like I just kept getting more and more and more. And you were always like, that's so fucking awesome. Like, I'm so happy for you. Like, it's such a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. That doesn't happen a lot. People
Well,
aren't
I
like
mean, look,
amped.
it was new for me. I mean, like like you said earlier in my intro, I was psyched to be there. I mean, I had done one guest star, just that NCIS, and then a
Yeah,
bunch of other co-stars when I got the tick, and all of a sudden I was a series regular, and uh I found out I got the job, and 6 hours later, a car picked me up to take me to the airport to go to New York for 4 months.
that's so fucking crazy.
Literally 6 hours. Now,
Yeah,
in fact, like, what if I had a dog or a kid or something like that? I didn't have any of those things. In retrospect, I could have said like, "No, you need to give me a few days." But of course, I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll be ready," and
right.
packed up. I was psyched. I mean, literally, I got a call from my manager and agent at 1 p.m. and at 1:15, production called and said a car picked me up at 7. And I just was like, okay, let's do it. Um, so I was just so it was, being in that position was very new to me. I was so excited to be there. I was like, and yeah, like, I mean, you were very well liked, clearly, producers. We didn't have many scenes together, but we would
No,
cross paths,
yeah,
and I kept seeing you, and I just knew that, like, had I been in your position too, I would have been psyched. Like
yeah, dude. I was
I had
fucking psyched.
never done anything recurring before that. So like I was just, it was fun. The people were great. And it was exciting. I was very excited. Yeah, and like I wasn't used to being treated the way that series regulars get treated. So I think
Yeah,
some of the PAs were a little confused on how to how to deal with me. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or anything. It was just like I'd say, where's craft services table? And they'd always be like, "What do you want? We can get you. What can we get you?" And I was like, "Oh, I was gonna get some water." Something. "Oh, you want sparkling with that? You want
yeah.
flavored?" I was like, "I'll just go over there and see what they got." And they were like, "Oh,
Oh
okay."
God.
And
Yeah,
they had to like radio in Scott's going to Crafty just so they knew where I was.
right.
Um, but yeah, I just like I was so psyched to be there. I knew I was getting paid well to do something that was super fun. So yeah, I was just happy and encouraging and trying to encourage everyone else to like have that same vibe, which you were as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. So this was my first like recurring thing,
Mhm.
and I was only supposed to be in two episodes, and then you were supposed to blow me up
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
yeah, and then they didn't blow me up. Something happened, and they liked me, and they just kept me going. And I never asked them why. I just said cool, and we just kept
No.
going. But I remember we were shooting outside the UN, and before this, like for many years, I had done a lot of background work because I had only done theater, right? So I did not know how to be on a set. So I spent like 4 years straight doing like background work. Then I did a lot of stand-in work. So now for the first time, I'm like in a lot of a show as like a principal guy. And I remember I'm like in the van with like um with Michael and Peter, and we're like waiting to like do our next shot, and they're like moving the background around, and all these people I know are walking by the van
Right.
from
Right.
like who we used to work with, and they all see me, and they're like, Josh, what are you doing in the in that van? I was like, oh, I'm in the show, guys. I'm one of the
Yeah,
I'm
that's
one
great.
of the people, and they're like, oh my god, oh my god, you know, to the point where like they stopped working, and then they had to call cut, and like one of the AEDs ran over, was like, what the fuck, and I was
Right.
like, no, it's my fault. They know me. We used to work together. Please don't yell at them. Like, just
Right.
please
Right.
God. But it was a
Yeah.
really interesting like change, like a really interesting
Yeah.
dynamic shift.
Yeah, I did when I first moved to LA right out of college. I mean, I was a theater major. I had a degree in theater, but I had never been on a set. I mean, I did like a couple little small student films, but like I wouldn't even call those a set really.
Sure.
Um, and so I did a decent amount of background work too, and it is I can't encourage people enough to do that, to like experience what that's like to be on like a big, back then it was just networks basically, but network set, but now any big show set, because it's a big thing. It is a huge machine, and it can be very stressful. And you can have all the training or whatever in the world, or just general acting training in the world, and then you show up on a set and there's 100 crew people that are tired and ready to get home, and the camera's on you, and you keep flubbing a line, and that feeling is just
Yeah.
stress. So
Oh yeah.
it's really great to experience that. Yeah, you don't want your first time to be on a set when it's like you're playing a big part or something's depending on you. You want to at least have that experience at a time, I think.
I totally agree. Also,
Yeah.
you get like a whole, like there's such like this like stigma, like you can't do that. You like can't do background work because it's beneath what, it's a job that pays money, and if you're in the
Yeah.
union, it pays even better. And there's nothing wrong with getting some on the job training. Like,
No,
you can watch
not at all.
people that you respect work, like you can be in the same, you can be a fly on the wall and just watch how shit goes down. There's no other place where you can get like a right in your face look at like how
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
And I think
That,
everybody should.
yeah, there is that sense, like you were talking about, your friends were sort of getting yelled at and being moved around. There is that sense of being treated like a second class citizen when you're doing background work. But you're right, like getting that experience, and I found like, I mean, I did shows like as background, I did like West Wing and ER and stuff like that. And I
Nice.
would find the episodes and scenes that I was background in, not because I wanted to see myself, because I wasn't trying to be seen as a background worker, as an extra. I just wanted to see how that scene that I watched up close being filmed turned out.
Yeah.
And that's how I like learned a lot of like, okay, so that's how they're doing that. Oh, that's what that looks like after they did that, and then they moved the camera there. And all that stuff helps a ton.
I think that's a big, like, that's what certain types of people will move on and like move up, are the people that are curious like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, when you are actively using it to learn versus for whatever other reason. Like,
Sure.
we've met all kinds of people that are in that sphere, and they're some just want to do that and they make a lot of money doing that, and that's fine. But
Mhm.
I have noticed that when people say things like that, dude, like those are the people that are like gonna move up and move on and
Right.
do other things because it's curiosity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
which I love that. So you went to acting school, but how did you start? Like what when did you get the bug?
So great question. I moved around the country a lot growing up, and I remember I think I did a play. I think I did Oliver. I was one of the orphans in like when I was like in kindergarten at the local high school. They needed a bunch of little kids or something, but I barely remember that. And then I remember in sixth grade, where I was living in San Luis Obispo, California for 1 year, and we did some sort of Lion Witch in the Wardrobe thing, and I got cast as one of the big parts, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I just started getting interested in it, and then I moved. Eventually, found myself in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Not my favorite place on the earth. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not going to say it's a shithole. I'm just going to say it's not my favorite place on the earth.
Okay.
And there's wonderful people there. Um, I did have my bar mitzvah in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where I was the only Jew my year.
How'd
So I
that
got
go?
late. It was fun. I mean, it was great, and like everyone was cool. But I definitely had to like explain when my friends got these invitations. I'd explain to them what it was, which was just fascinating. And they were all super like kind and respectful. Some were super interested and came to. But anyway, so Fayetteville, there wasn't a lot going on. I played soccer. I didn't love a lot of the people, but there was a really good semi-professional regional theater there called Cape Fear Regional Theater, still exists. And they would bring a lot of their leads from New York, and then they'd cast everything else locally. And I just started doing stuff there and got really into it. And then ended up graduating high school in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and was doing plays there. And I knew that I wanted to do it. And so from there, I went to Northwestern University outside Chicago and was a theater major, and then I moved to LA.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. And it's, yeah, I mean, and I didn't like, in the first, so I lived here for about 5 years, and I think I did, in terms of TV film, I think I did three commercials. That was it. Didn't have a single line on television or anything other than a commercial, three commercials, um, maybe two commercials. I may have been making up a third, and that was it. And I did stuff at Groundlings, which is like Second City, like
Yeah.
improv sketch comedy, because that was
Improv.
the background. I'd done that since basically middle school, and um, and so I would, I did some plays here and audition here and there, and then the Blue Man Group thing came
Yeah,
along.
we're gonna talk
And
about that. Yeah, so you're a
yeah,
blue man.
I am a blue man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you have been for a long time, right?
Yeah, I've been doing it for just over 19 years,
That's
which
fucking
is
awesome.
insane. Now, I only
That
I only did it full time for 4 years, and then I quit. Heavy quotes on that.
yeah.
Um, but the way the company works, if you play your cards right and you're somewhat liked and you do the job well, there's always need for work here and there. So I was living in Las Vegas doing the show full time, and I didn't want to live in Las Vegas anymore, and I knew I wanted to do other stuff. I liked Blue Man. I still enjoyed doing it. I didn't necessarily want to stop, but I
Right.
didn't but it was hard. Like if I was going to do that full time in Las Vegas, it was hard to make other things happen. So I
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah,
quit
yeah.
and I moved to New York City. Even though I'd lived in LA previously, I was like, I want to try New York. And I was there for like a week, and the Blue Man show in New York called and said, "Hey, are you available to do the show next Wednesday night?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Can you do Saturday, a double on Saturday? Sure. And then Chicago calls. Can you come for a week and do the show? So I just started like filling in all the
Yeah,
time, doing
and
special
you've been
or gigs.
everywhere. You've been in Japan, you've been all over the
Yeah,
fucking world, right?
yeah. I've done the show, yeah, Japan more than once. I've done show in Germany, Korea. bunch of gigs in Brazil, all over Canada. Where else? Saudi Arabia, of
Ooh,
all places. I lived
ooh.
in Saudi Arabia for a month. Yeah, there's everyone has different responses to that.
Yeah. No,
But I
mean it's
glad I
beautiful there, but it's also extremely oppressive. So it's a
yeah, like there are
it's
a lot of people that did not like the idea that we were going to perform there. They didn't
yeah.
think we should. And I totally understand that. And I got to say, after being there, I'm so glad I went. I'm so glad we did it. I didn't feel like I was performing for an oppressive regime. I felt like I was performing for people that had never seen anything remotely like this
Mm,
and were blown away. And that's what it was. Like the audience, there were some VIPs that would show up here and there, but in general, it's just the regular people
it's
that
regular
live there.
folks, yeah.
Yeah, and they were, they absolutely loved it. It was great.
Well, I think that's fucking awesome. Like, like sure, people like you said may have had issue with you being there, but that's why you do theater, is to go places and give people an experience that they may not have ever had before. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
and I
there were people in the company, even like people within the company were like, we should not go perform in Saudi Arabia. And I totally understand that and I respect that. And I got it. I mean, for me, it was more, I went more selfishly because like I'm just curious. I'd like to go everywhere in the world I possibly can before I die. And so Saudi Arabia, like when else? You can't really just go there as a tourist, although they're starting to try to make that happen. So it's not like I can just book a flight to Riyadh or Jeddah
I
and
th-
go as a
I
tourist.
yeah, yes now. Yes.
You can now.
Yeah.
Back then you couldn't.
No, yeah.
Um, uh, although I don't believe a woman can do that. She has to go with a man, I
Just go with the man.
believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so back then you couldn't. Yeah. Um, and so I was just like, look, I'm gonna get to go and get paid to be in this place that I probably would never go to. So it was more of a selfish reason that I went, kind of ignoring the political aspects of should we be there or not. But then like from the first show, just seeing the people in the audience and how they were responding to it. And it was just, I was like, oh yeah, this is worth it. I'm so glad we're here.
yeah. So
So,
what makes a good blue man? Like how
oh
like
wow.
yeah, like what is that
It's a great
vibe?
question.
Yeah.
I've been doing Blue Man casting as well. Almost since like a year or two after I started helping with casting. And like anytime there's something in LA, they send one of the directors out from New York, and the two of us run auditions in LA. Uh, it is very hard to explain. Like, if you've seen the show, there's a lot of percussion. So you do eventually have to have excellent percussion skills, but it's not required in terms of getting casts. For example, I did not have, I had rhythm, but I'd never played the drums. But they could tell I had rhythm. They tested me with stuff and they put me in drum lessons for like a year before I even went to training.
Oh, okay.
As far as what makes a good blue man, it's so hard to describe, and it's also very nebulous. Like, we may, you know, the two people that usually come out, some of the directors and casting people are either Tim or Tasha, and we may completely disagree on someone, and then we have to discuss that, and there's never like a simple this is why I don't think it's going to work for this person, or this is why I will think it's going to work for this person. um so a lot of it is based on, quite simply, can you engage me? Can you tell, or not me, the audience, us, can you engage us, tell us an interesting story without talking,
Yeah.
with your eyes, with your body, with your breath? Um, and that's ultimately what it is. Can you also work with two other people on stage with you without talking and communicating? And then there's within that, there's parameters, there's certain physicality that the blue man has, um, that you eventually like will learn. In terms of finding blue men, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And a lot of times the last day of callbacks is we put whoever's remaining in we called bald and blue. So we get them in the makeup to see what they look like. And sometimes there have been people that throughout the audition process and the other callbacks have been great, and they get in the makeup and something just doesn't work.
Like
And it's
they just
frustrating.
look
It's sad.
weird.
It's been a bunch of times where like we'll have maybe 5 people left on that final day, and we're really excited about one of them, and then they come out in the makeup, and we're like, oh shit, just doesn't work. Doesn't
Well,
work.
like
And it's not, it's
or
not,
just have like a weird head or something, or like they just don't fit the.
it can be the way it can hide your eyes.
Oh, okay.
It can
That makes
um
sense.
I actually don't have I'm probably on the lower than average size of eye size or big eye size of the blue men. So, and I have kind of this like brow. So I tend on stage, I kind of tend to have to cheat up a little bit, because if I go like that, the lights and everything are kind of going to block my eyes.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff like that. And then sometimes the makeup, also people act differently when they're in the makeup. So sometimes it just closes them off and they don't know how to work with it.
That's
But
yeah,
it's
because it's
very,
not like wearing a mask, right? Like it's like
no,
mask
you
work.
cap. It's a
Yeah.
bald cap, and then it's grease paint. But it is the first few times you do it, it can be very claustrophobic. And we're wearing molded in the shows, we're wearing molded in earpieces. Like when you see a rock star singing, he's got they have these molded ears. So when you've got those in, plus the bald cap, plus the grease paint, it can be very it's a lot. It's can be overwhelming for some people right off the bat.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, also like that type of storytelling is some of the oldest way to tell stories, right? So, and it's
yeah.
extremely visceral and very human in interconnectivity. So I'm sure like it takes a very open and specific type of artist to like even allow that and like other people in, and to not be scared of the fact that you're never going to speak words,
Right.
but you will speak volumes,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But
One of
yeah.
the one of the first things, the auditions change all the time, but one of the first things we do recently, I guess maybe this is a spoiler for anyone that auditions in the future, but that's
Spoiler
okay.
alert, write this down.
Yeah, we bring people in, and men and women are allowed to audition. Everyone's welcome. We did have one woman once, way back when. It's just a question of whether they fit the role or not. But we bring people in groups. So you go in groups anywhere from 4 to 6 people, and we're all in a room. Like here, we audition at the Hudson Theater, which is on Santa Monica Boulevard, and we basically have the person. It's a kind of a clowning exercise, where they leave the room, they come in, and they have to make in silence. They have to stand there on the stage and make eye contact with everyone in the room, including myself, including Tim or Tasha, and then the other 4 or 5 people that are auditioning. And eye contact meaning like I'm going to stare at you, or like I'll look at you, maybe 5, possibly 10 seconds, and then I'm going to move on.
Hmm.
And you would be surprised how difficult that is, because it's really uncomfortable to make silent eye contact with someone you don't know. It's very uncomfortable.
It's
And you
really interesting just because like
see a lot. You learn.
yeah. So I've worked at the Metropolitan Opera for
Right.
12 years, right? Um 12, 13 years now. It's crazy. I've been there for a long time.
It's a great gig.
And it so I do a lot of like sword fighting there, and like and like other type of work, but there's a lot of there's a lot of that, right? Like there's a lot of quiet uh excellence going on among
Mhm.
the actors, because we have to tell a story without speaking the
Right.
whole through a 4.5 hour show. Uh,
Right. Right.
and it takes a very specific type of actor to be able to do that work. And I feel like these two worlds kind of go kind of hand in hand
Sure.
in that way, because the like whole idea of like an actor in an opera, like unless you're currently being like crazily featured, which happens a lot, you're doing something so interesting that won't pull from the opera singer. But
Mhm.
if a person looks around the person who is currently singing, you want them to be so compelled and moved by what you're doing
Right.
that it adds to the performance. Um,
Sure.
so it's interesting. Like people have called it background work for the stage, but it's
Mm,
fucking not. It's a totally
yeah.
other type of like
Well, yeah,
acting.
you've got,
So,
especially in opera, you've got tons of huge fans sitting there with their opera glasses, zooming in on not just the
yeah,
person singing,
going
because the
everywhere.
sets and the costumes are so magnificent and grandiose that they want to be checking things out, and they don't want to zoom in on you, and all of a sudden you're just kind of like chewing a piece of gum or whatever.
Right.
It breaks the magic of it.
The majesty, the
Yeah,
fucking epicness of
yeah,
opera. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
cool, and it was a great place to actually learn for the camera. Be
Oh, sure, yeah.
because you're doing all this really intricate small shit. Like I worked on everything that like I was having issues with, like crying. Like I honed my
Mhm,
like access to my tears on that stage,
mhm.
just because like there's always somebody getting killed or raped or hurled off a building or something fucking crazy. So it's like it's very easy to like practice while getting paid
Cool.
and while also putting on a show. So I mean, I don't know if you had that experience when you were a blue man where you got to kind of like practice eyes or
Yeah.
head
I
movements.
mean, it's interesting. Like, we obviously, if you've seen the show, there's no, people aren't dying and being
No.
hurled off. But the stakes for the character of the Blue Man are that big and that wonderful and that scary and awful. So there is that sense of trying to, something could be for the blue man on stage, because the audience is also sort of part of the show, and someone sneezes in the audience, there is no fourth wall, really. We basically get to explore. Someone
Yeah.
sneezes in the audience and it's in a quiet moment, we're going to respond to it. And that sneeze, whatever at the moment, could be, if it depends what's going on and who's in the show, but it could be a horrible thing. Like the blue man could be like, what the hell is that? Holy shit, are we all gonna die? You
Right.
know? So, or it could be like, oh, that's cool. I heard about those things. The sneezes, people sneeze. So that's the freedom of the role, is that you can make those choices, that things can be good or bad. Um, it's sort of loose that way. But the stakes are that grand for the Blue Man, even though they're not like, it's a modern vaudeville show where we're
Oh,
making jokes.
sure. But you have to be like that totally sounds like to me that you have to be so fucking committed to what's going on that like that
Yeah,
that's a thing that like that's one of the hardest things to learn as a performer is like commitment above everything else, right? You need
yeah,
to commit
yeah,
to this thing even if it's not working. You got to like just make sure that you fucking believe it or else the
yeah,
audience isn't going
yeah. And
to.
there's only
Yeah.
three of us on stage, so you're not out of focus for very long if you are. And a lot of people see the show and they think we're just doing this the whole time. We are not. Uh, we are. There's times where things are, that big of a deal, or like but because the only thing on our body that's not black or blue, our clothes are black, our hands are blue, our head is blue, is the whites of our eyes. So
Yeah.
that contrast makes it look like, we're giving the big eyes, we call them, all the time. We're
Well, that's
not.
awesome.
Sometimes we are.
And it's also awesome that you've had this to come back to. Just
It's it's been a lifesaver. I mean, like, from the day I got the job, I haven't had to, even after I quit, I haven't had to get another job since. So like I can comfortably say I've been supporting myself as an actor for over 19 years. And that
that's
is 90% because of Blue Man.
yeah, well, you made it, right?
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I did. Doesn't
yeah.
always feel like that. But yeah, it is. And I'm so lucky to have had that gig. And I just spent a week in Vegas doing the show and a week in Boston doing the show. And I hadn't done it in a little while because I had knee surgery. But yeah, and it's just so great to get to pop back in. And it is very, I hadn't been to Vegas in a while, and the Vegas show is very big and it is very physical, and I am not as young as I used to be. So Definitely. Showed up for a week and did doubles almost every day and was just like,
Just wiped probably.
oh, this is a young man's game, you know.
Yeah, man. Well,
So
that's fucking great. And you just had a movie come out, yeah, called
I
Gen Plus
did
None?
just plus none. Yeah.
Just Plus
So
None.
this movie, I have never, and I think anyone that was involved with it would probably agree, I've never had that much fun on a set. And there's
Oh,
a
that's
lot of
great.
reasons. One is we shot in, I think, May of 2021.
Mm,
Everyone had just basically been, yeah, we had all been vaccinated, just like had most of us had gotten our second shot if we did that one a few weeks before, something like that. And we lived at a YMCA camp in the mountains near Big Bear, about 2 hours from LA, for 2 weeks. And
mm,
like the counselor cabins or whatever were like decent cabins. There's like a little living room and a little TV and stuff. And then there would be like the one I stayed in, there were 4 bedrooms, and each bedroom had like 2 to 3 bunk beds,
yeah.
but we got our own room. So like I had 2 bunk beds in my room. I slept on one and I used the other 3 to like put my clothes and shit. Um, but also in my cabin was Rory Alley. I don't know if you know him. He was in the original um Book of Mormon.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and he also played the king in Hamilton all over the place. He was like the third one to do it or something like that. Anyway, he's fantastic. But so we lived on this camp and we ate all our meals in the mess hall. And it was also, this was after over a year of all of us being stuck at home, not seeing friends other than Zoom, having to wear a mask anytime we went outside. And it was such a joy. I mean, we all became so close. We didn't have to wear masks. We were all vaccinated and we would get tested every few days. And it just, there's something about that release of being able to like be with people. And a couple of us sort of knew each other, but none of us were really good friends, but we all became very good friends. Um, and we'd all hang out after the shows, have some after the shoot, have some drinks and whatever. It was just an amazing experience. And you know, as things go, it takes a while for these. You and I were talking earlier about indie films
Yeah.
to make happen, and we did. 2022 was our. We got into the BFI Flair Film Festival, which is in London, which is a pretty big festival. Um, and that was sort of our premiere, and a bunch of us went to London for that, and that was awesome.
That's
But that
fun.
was over 2 years ago, and we've been to a bunch of other festivals around, and it's finally now, as of a week or something ago, just you can stream it on like all the places. It's not free anywhere, I don't think, so you got to pay for it. Support indie
You
film,
should pay because it's an
but
indie
it's,
film,
yeah,
so
you
you
should
should
pay.
pay
I don't
for it.
think
Yeah.
it's but yeah, I think it's Amazon, all the places. So yeah, and it's fun. Like,
Who do you play, Scott?
what's that?
Who is your character?
I play Greg. It's been a while. Uh,
Greg. Okay.
the whole wedding takes place at my wedding at a campsite. I'm not the lead. It's an ensemble, and there's like this one main lead, and then there's like 10, 11 of us that are kind of supporting. But it's our wedding, and I'm definitely a like finance bro, marrying this woman who's got more of like an artistic background, and her best friend doesn't think she should marry me and all that stuff. And
Perfect.
on a campsite, and wackiness ensues, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's
So
awesome. So I will say it correctly this time. Everyone go watch Jess Plus None on
you,
all of this and all of the streaming services.
yeah,
It's probably not that much money. It's probably like $5.
it's 5, 6, 10, but I don't know
I
what it
don't know.
is.
Whatever
Uh,
it is, just
just
watch it.
buy it, yeah, or rent it,
Buy it.
whatever it is. Yeah,
Rent it, whatever you need to
buy
do.
it. You can
Yeah.
rent it. Uh, and
Just
tell
do that.
yeah, it's super fun. It's super fun. You might reckon Matt Walsh is in it, who was he was on Veep, he was on one of the founders of Upright Citizens Brigade, and there's some other people you might recognize in there. But it just was such a blast, and we're all still good friends. We keep in touch.
That's great.
So super
We
cool.
got a Blue Man question, if
Oh,
that's okay.
sure.
Um, Are the shows mostly planned, or is it a lot of improvisation?
Great question. So, the reason that's a great question is because the answer is there's no written script, by the way. I mean, they're kind of way like 30 something years ago, they kind of wrote out the beats, but you don't ever, no one's ever handed us, when you get the job, you're never handed a script really. You
Okay.
learn the show by like watching it and then training with the guys that are doing it. So it's kind of this sort of old, like almost like tribal storytelling that you pass down. Um, so there are all the pieces have set things that are happening, but there's constant room for change and improvisation, depending on the audience. So, like I said earlier, if we're in the middle of playing a quiet song on these PVC pipes and someone sneezes really loud, we can stop playing and like all look at that person. Or if someone's walking in late, we can go up to that person. So, and then there are moments where if you've never seen the show, we bring some people on stage and we kind of have like there's a sort of script in our minds that we know we're doing, but it's always different because everyone's different, and the person on stage is going to make it different. The person we bring on stage who doesn't know we're bringing them on stage um, makes it different every time, and so I will say this too. What's also great, and like I mean, there's guys that have been doing it full time for 30 years, and I think what makes now, granted, I'm going to use Phantom of the Opera as an example. I've never done Phantom of the Opera, but my understanding, for the most part, if you're in Phantom of the Opera, you are walking from here to this mark, saying this line or singing the song exactly, pretty much exactly the same way every show.
Sure.
In Blue Man, the blocking, as long as there's certain places where you have to be for certain light areas, but the blocking is pretty loose. Blocking meaning where you need to be on the stage and where you move. Um, Most of us end up playing all three parts: the left blue man, the center blue man, the right blue man. That's what they're called. Very creative names. And so the show for us as performers, if I'm doing a show and I'm playing center and Mark is playing right and Patrick's playing left, the next show I do that night, I might be playing left, and Kalen is playing center, and Nick or whatever is playing right. So those shows are completely different for us as performers because you're playing a different role, and everyone is different. Every blue man's a little different. This is a very long answer to your
Yeah.
question,
No, it's great. I don't
but
care.
yeah, but so yeah, there. If there was silence in the audience the whole show, which doesn't happen, there is a little room for improv in there to like make choices, but a lot of it depends on the interaction with the audience. We encourage the audience to be involved. We need them. We want them involved. But
Cool.
great question, whoever
That's a
asked that.
good question. Thank you, Jose. That was a wonderful
Thanks.
question. So question about I guess transitioning from being being a series regular
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of going back into into like auditioning again. Was it a weird transition? Was it a hard thing to do?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
very much so. I mean, I'll say this: once I did the tick and became a series regular, the auditions I was getting were definitely on a different level than I was getting before.
Sure.
I was looking for lots of series regulars, and big things, big movies and stuff. And but it was hard to be like, oh, right, that job is done. Now I have to get something else.
Yeah.
And there are a couple things that sort of bigger things that I came kind of close on, but then like we weren't released from our contract until the end of June or July of 2019. And we finished shooting June or July of 2018.
Right.
But I think most of the series regulars weren't released until a year later because they weren't sure if they were going to do a third season. So after that, we were 6, 7 months away from COVID.
Yeah.
So 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 that like changed everything, obviously. And it's frustrating for me because I had gotten to a place in my career where I think most of the casting, not most, but a decent amount of casting directors in LA at least knew who I was, and I was getting pretty good auditions. And then when the self tape started, they were opening up to a lot more people, which is great. And I would have killed for that to happen when I was much younger and didn't have much of a resume.
Sure.
But so it's just, and I mean, you're self taping all the time, and I'm not a fan. I do like that I can, when I go to Blue Man somewhere, that I don't have to miss an audition, that I get to self tape from a hotel room or something.
Right. Which is
But
very
I
good.
really wish that I could be in the room, get some feedback, get some face-to-face time with the casting director. Because I mean, any actor now knows you do all these self-tapes and you just send them out into the ether, and most of the time you never hear anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's been tough. So COVID, which went into the strikes
Strikes.
and
Yeah.
like the fires for LA, it's been a rough few years. I
It's
mean,
been a
forever.
really weird time. Yeah. I
I'm
will like,
grateful
yeah.
that I don't have a burnt house. I don't. I'm
Thumbs up
my
there.
health. Yeah, my health is fine. But but yeah, I mean, it's LA is in the film and TV industry. LA is in a very strange place right now.
So it is here too in New York.
Yeah,
It's beginning to pick up a bit. I'm pretty fortunate that I've been able to receive some really great auditions.
great.
But I was in the same boat as you a bit, just because of how my role progressed. My team was able to like capitalize on that momentum,
Absolutely.
which was really cool. It was a really cool story, and like they were like, "Look at the," so like yeah, like it was like I was in getting generals at all the major
Mhm.
networks, and I was meeting everybody and blah blah. And I was like, "Holy shit, it's happening!" Like
Right.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my
You
god, it's
made it.
happening! I'm fucking rolling." And then yeah, COVID came, and then I was like, "Oh, COVID's
Yeah.
gonna be fine, right?" Yeah, and but it
Right.
was it's like and I and it just started to like kind of come back, and thank God it came back. um, like I don't know, like I would say like a few months after the strikes, right before hiatus, and then the wildfires happened, and then
Yeah.
and then I've had some pretty good ones again. Luckily, I've had like some like commercials renewed, like a bunch of times, and working at the opera and all that stuff. But and I've had a lot of almosts, but you
Yeah.
but
So that
you
help
can't
pay the
eat
bills.
almost, like you
Yeah.
can't feed your
Yeah.
family on almost.
I very thank God for commercials. I was never really much of a commercial guy. Not that I wasn't trying, it just never took them. Uh,
Hold on, my
but oh,
TikTok's yelling at me. I have to do a
uh,
puzzle now. Do this puzzle every time it's been in like an hour. All right. Anyway, okay, TikTok, there's your puzzle. Anyway, go ahead.
um, no, I've been lucky the past, like since COVID, commercials and Blue Man have kind of been my bread and butter. However, I have this progressive commercial
Oh,
if you're familiar with Flow, that was airing all the time, like every World Series game and everything, and it was great. And the commercial, it started airing like mid-October, and it was airing all the time. I was getting texts from people, and the commercial is, I'm like the dad of a family, and we're standing around a fire pit, throwing stuff into this fire, like extraneous expenses that we don't need. It's a funny commercial with the Flow and stuff at the end. Um, but I remember being here during the fires, and the commercial came on, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Oh shit." I know I'm safe. I have some friends that were evacuated that were staying with me, and I was like, I didn't say it out loud because I was like, your house might be burning. But like I was like, oh, I know I'm gonna be a sort of indirect casualty of these fires.
oh
And yeah,
yeah,
within a couple days, that thing was yanked. Now
taken
it's not
down.
full. I think after like a month, it's slowly airing a little on like some streaming Hulu things, but it was very clear that they like pulled it. And I get it. I get it, but it was just one of those watching it, and I watching it, and I was like, oh
It's like,
no.
there goes my money. See you later. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, but
yeah.
hey,
Well, it's a very interesting thing because I was having like kind of this exact conversation with an actor last week about how commercials became like an unexpected thing that we started to do, and that
mhm.
pay really well, and that while they may not be, high art, they certainly help you um, connect the dots, and they're wonderful.
And get you health insurance if at
Yeah, and get you health
times. Yeah.
insurance and pension
I
credits.
wouldn't have health insurance if it weren't for the commercials in the last several years.
Yeah,
So,
because the residuals help so
yeah.
goddamn much. I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like just I mean, and we're still getting them from the tick, which is nice. Like
Yeah.
that's never stopped. I mean, like, God bless SAG-AFTRA, right? Like just
Yeah.
being able to make that happen for as long as people watch stuff is great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If without residuals, it would be a mess. And I was going to say back to like the commercials in terms of high art, like some of them, because I think since DVRs existed and other streaming, I think a lot of ad agencies have tried to make commercials more entertaining and
Yeah,
I've done a couple commercials that I one that I made a lot of money on for Toyota that I didn't want anyone to see. Like I was embarrassed by it. It was a stupid commercial. And I remember Barry Josephson, executive producer of The Tick and numerous other things, texted me a screenshot from his TV of me in this commercial. And he was being nice. He was like, "Oh, look who I saw." And I was just mortified. I was like, "Oh, that stupid commercial." But like things like that progressive one, I think is very funny. It's a funny commercial. I get the tagline. I mean, we shot a bunch of different stuff, but like the director, I mean, he same guy directs them all, and there's improv they're doing, and Stephanie Courtney, who plays Flo, is improv background,
yeah,
and so it's just that itself was like fun. It was very fun, and I felt like on the set on the day, I was like, this is creatively satisfying. We'll see how it turns out, and it turned out, and it's pretty funny.
that's great. Yeah, I
So,
mean, like,
I mean, I
I
like that
played a
better than the
banana.
episodes of TV I've done. That's for sure.
It's true. I mean, I
Yeah.
I played a HIV prevention banana as like one of my first like
Uh huh.
commercial gigs. So like they're not all gonna be
No.
spectacular. So
No.
yeah,
No. They are not.
no,
They are
no.
not.
Um so we're about to be at an hour. Time flies.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We
It says that
can
up there.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
So I'll like to ask this of people who work a lot in our industry. What advice would you give someone graduating now
Mm,
into this landscape? Because it's totally different
it's
from when we
totally
started.
different. Yeah. Like I remember when, way back when I graduated, like I was in a lot of, sketch comedy and improv was like my thing. And there was a big group of us from Northwestern that stuck together and was doing all these shows. Now that would be nothing. You got to shoot. You got to like Lonely Island, basically turn that into like, you shoot it, put it on YouTube.
Right.
So
You have to be on
someone
SNL.
graduating now, yeah, someone graduating now. I mean, I would say don't like definitely don't be too big for your britches, as my grandmother would say. Like you may have been, you may be an actor and you're trained and you have a degree and you played Hamlet at Yale. Fine. But no one's too good for anything, especially if you don't have experience doing this. If you've never done a sitcom with a live studio audience, you've never done an hour-long drama, you've never done, yeah, do as much as you can. And also try to like, I mean, back in the day, I would get Backstage West, which was the newspaper,
Yeah.
Backstage West newspaper, and then
Yeah.
I'd mail in my headshot, put a 50-cent stamp on it, mail in my headshot to submit myself for auditions. Like, you little jerks these days, you have no idea how easy it is. You just sign up and pay Actors Access, whatever, 75, $80. Submit yourself for everything. And submit, and before I was before I got that like guest star on NCIS, I was submitting myself for as much as I could, like casting a wide net. I paid a yearly thing on Actors Access, and I did a couple big budget short films actually, and some things like, and I met people. Someone ended up being my agent later. You make all these connections. I got experience shooting stuff. I got a reel from it. And there were also certain things where I'd submit myself, and then the audition would come in and they'd send me sides and I'd read it, and there'd just be tons of typos and it was like really poorly written. I'd do some research on who the director is and I was like, nah, I don't want to do it, and I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't audition, I wouldn't submit, or I wouldn't go to the audition. And that's fine. I just, you know, I think the wider net you cast in terms of trying to get roles and get experience and meeting people, the better chance you have. And you can decide those things. Like I remember something I submitted myself when I was living in New York, after I quit full-time Blue Man, and I went to the audition. It was, I think, a low budget, short or indie. And I went to the audition and I just saw how unorganized and what a mess and clusterfuck that the audition was. And I stood there for a few minutes and I just was like, no, I'm out. Like, you
I
get
think
something like pick up something. And I was also like, older. I wasn't like 22 anymore. And so I was like, this is a small thing, doesn't really pay. I don't know if I'd get much of a reel out of it. I don't want to sit here and wait half an hour for something that's super. So value yourself, I would say. Value yourself and your time, but also don't, no one's too good for anything, you get offered something on Young and the Restless, try it. Doesn't mean you have to be on it forever.
that's true. And
Yeah.
I think that's really good advice, man. Like, just like
Yeah.
being open, but also being aware of what is happening around you is
Yeah.
some of the it feels so basic, but that's people get so fucked over by it
Yeah.
over and over again. So yeah, I mean, and that's universal then, now, in the future. Cool. Nice.
And I think people worry, especially early on, they worry about like, oh, I can't do this McDonald's commercial because like it's gonna hurt my career and I'm a serious actor.
Right. It's
A
not.
McDonald's commercial you do and when you're 22 years old does not mean you're not going to play Hamlet on Broadway or be a Marvel superhero. Those are unrelated things.
Yeah, because it's an industry of people working, like, it's
Yeah.
not like they're not gonna be
Yeah.
like, oh, you were like, I was in a White Castle commercial playing a party magician who appeared a White Castle burger, and like that was my
Uh-huh.
whole thing.
That's funny.
That's not gonna stop me
No.
from doing anything.
No.
Like,
No.
it's
No.
money, and everyone knows that you're making money. Like,
Yeah.
but see, for me, that was the one of the hardest things to fucking come to like terms with,
It's
because I
hard.
was that guy. I was like, I am a Shakespearean trained, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But it was like, we need money. It's a job. Like, it's our fucking
Yeah.
job.
It is hard. Like I said, I have a degree in theater from a prestigious university, but like, and there are people that are going to, that are actors that are only going to do that and will be fine and may probably be very successful. But most people aren't.
Yeah,
Most people that are like, I'm an actor, I only do quality work. Um, Most of those people are not going to make a living just doing quality work. It's
a
just not
lot of
going to
those
happen.
people have the means, or a person paying for their life
Sure.
to do
And
that.
and more power to them. More
Yeah,
power to them for that. Absolutely. Like, if I have a good friend who like parents lived in LA, and like if I could have moved to LA out of college and lived at home and saved on rent and just focused on it, like, absolutely, I'll do that in a heartbeat.
right, of course.
Don't be afraid to take the connections that you have. That's another thing. You know, use the people you know.
Yeah, don't be proud.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Wow.
Right.
We should go back to our schools and teach classes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember the first day at Northwestern, the head of the theater department. He's since passed, but like he gives this big dramatic speech about how he's like, "We are not here to teach you the business of acting or show business. We're here to teach you the craft of theater, the art of acting." And he was just flat out on it. If you're here just because you want to be a movie star, do this, like you're in the wrong place. And it was great.
Yeah.
A lot of people had a hard time hearing that, but it was true. It's like you're not learning the business. At least there you weren't. Would that have been a good thing maybe from the author? Sure, maybe they should do that. But he was very clear. It was like, that's not what you're here to do. You're here to be to learn to be a better actor.
Yeah, I mean that's what mine was too,
Yeah.
and I know that it's changing now, but it definitely it wasn't good for me to not know any fucking thing
Yeah.
about what the hell was going on.
No, it wasn't. And
And
that's the thing, is it's tough. But he made that clear. It's like, that's not my job.
it is your job because you're an educator, right? So that's the thing that
It's sure.
that I get fucked up over, is that the people that go to Juilliard and Yale, they know what's going on in the industry, and they're also getting like
Yeah.
the best whatever the fuck. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, I mean, that's a good argument. I think his point was just that, like, I'm here to educate. We're here to educate you the craft slash art of theater and acting,
I'm
not the
not saying
business.
that I would change a goddamn thing about what I learned. I am so happy with what I learned when I was in acting training. I don't know if I could have ingested it properly if it was like, hey, this is what the industry is.
Right.
I like I'd have been like, I don't care. Why do I care about that right now? I'm learning how to do Hamlet here, or I'm learning how to,
Right.
do Stanley Kowalski or
Mhm.
whatever, right? Like, it's just like, when I came to New York, it was the hardest transition in the world. Like, I remember I met my first like agent. I had my first agent meeting right after my showcase, and I remember like it went well, and we had a good talk. And then at the end, she was like, "Well, what are you doing in New York now?" And I was like, "I've been here for a week." "What do you mean?" And then she was like, you should come back when you know what that means." And I was like, "Oh," and I was like, What do you mean?" And then she was like, "We're not going to work together until you know what that fucking means. Get out of my
Right.
office."
Uh,
And like, what she meant was like, who are you meeting? Are you taking any acting classes? Are you meeting any
yeah.
casting
Yeah.
directors? Where are you watching shows? Blah blah, like all these things that like now it's like, oh yeah, this is this.
Yeah.
But like then it was like, what do you mean I have this master's degree? And I remember she specifically said, no one gives a fuck about your master's degree here.
It's true.
Nobody cares about your piece
It's
of
true.
paper. Like, and I was like, what do you
They don't. I
mean?
mean, and I'll say this too as advice too, like talking to, if somehow you're able to talk to casting directors, it's a fascinating perspective, and I've actually learned a lot from being on the other side when casting for Blue Man. It's very different than casting for film, but just being on that side, like they it's really doesn't, I mean, resume matters, it helps because it gives a sense of like what you've done, and do you have experience, have you been on a set before, but like ultimately in anything, they're trying to find the best person for the job. Now, that's
Right.
separate from like, oh, we need a movie star, we need a name because it's going to sell more. Separate from that, when they're not looking for that, they're looking for who is the best for that part. And if the person is best for that part and is and dropped out of school at 15 and has never studied acting in their life, and there's someone else that has a degree from Yale, doesn't matter. If that guy that dropped out of school is better for the part and also
Yeah.
maybe has a little experience, so he won't freak out on a set, he's going to get the part.
Right.
So, so, and that's not to take away from. I'm so proud of my degree and I love my experience at Northwestern, and I did learn a lot, but and I wouldn't change it. But ultimately, like it does come down to who's right for the part, not who has the degree.
That's true. Well, I think
Yeah.
that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, man. This was a
My
great
pleasure.
conversation. It was a
Thanks
lot
for
of fun.
having me.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for listening, watching.
Thanks for hearing Scott talk about Blue Man Group for half an hour, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while. I've done a couple things where I've talked about it for a while, but it's been a while. So
No, it was so fascinating, dude. Like
refresh it.
I mean, you've been on that for so long that you have such a
Yeah.
unique perspective with it. So it was cool. Thank you.
Right on. My pleasure.
Yeah, I will speak to you soon.
All right. Great.
All right, later. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this evening or afternoon or morning or whatever it is. I appreciate everyone from. Oh, where are you from? You're from Denmark. Thank you for being here. Again, this was the live stream live. We are a weekly show. I am a weekly show, and I appreciate you being here. Until next week, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your evening, afternoon, or morning, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.